So I'm sure that a lot of you guys will have heard the controversy surrounding AI at the moment. Is it going to take over the world? Is it going to kill us all? Are our jobs all going to be made redundant? Well, this is all what is being discussed on the podcast today. Our next guest is Dr. Armin Mustafa. Dr. Armin specializes in AI, but specifically she looks at how AI interprets and reads and understands videos, making them more contextually aware. In today's conversation, we cover so much from the future of AI, whether it will kill us all or not, what it's being used for in health, which is insane, genetic testing with AI, and that has tons of health implications as well. So many interesting topics are covered today, and I think you guys are going to get so much out of this. It's super interesting. But before we start, as always, if you could do me a huge favor and hit that subscribe button, 5-star button, whatever it is, wherever you are, honestly, it means the world. And the more of you guys that do that, the more incredible guests we can get on the podcast. Without further ado, my name is Harrison Brown. This is the Into the Mind podcast, and let's welcome Dr. Armin. Before we move on to your field specifically, should we be scared of AI or no?
No, not at all. I think there's still a lot more that could be done safely, and we are not at that level right now where people should start getting scared of AI. If you think of job replacement, then yes, that might be one of the worries. And we can already see that, right? The jobs are getting replaced. The coder, software development, that kind of things are already getting replaced quite quickly. So if that's the scare you're talking about, then slightly yes. But if you are talking about scary in terms like the AI would take over, the machines would take over, no, not that sort of thing at all. Nothing on a sci-fi basis would happen very soon.
At what point does that begin to become a threat? Because from what I can see using AI, right, it's reading stuff that people have already produced and it's making a calculated decision based on that. At what point does AI start thinking for itself?
I think there is still a lot more to go. So even though whatever you are seeing is already trained. So the AI has already been trained on that data. And unless it has not seen some data, it won't do anything. And currently there is a huge gap between what the AI is and the human-centric capability. So for example, the human-like capabilities that we have, for example, the way we see the scenes, the way we describe the scenes, the way we understand the scenes, humans, and the way AI sees, understands, and describes the scene, there is a huge difference. AI works well for simplistic scenarios, but if you go for complex scenarios, then it fails a lot as well. So I think there is a huge gap between the understanding of AI and human-like understanding at the moment is still, that's true.
And how long will it take to get to that human level of kind of
I
cognizance?
don't know. So I feel like the more Max 7 is investing and the governments are investing in AI, the quicker it will be. But I think it's still a long way to go. Especially achieving that human-like understanding is still a long way to go. So if you take a robot and leave it in a very crowded environment, for example, a fair or something like that, right? It won't be able to navigate. It won't be able to understand. The robot still cannot understand like human body languages, human emotions. All those kind of things are still a big challenge. So I feel like there's a long way to go. But seeing that so, for example, the UK government is investing so much, the big companies are investing so much. So we might see a lot of, so there is still a lot of scope, but yeah, it's still a long way to go.
Have you ever seen Ex Machina?
No. What is that?
It's a movie and it's about AI. It's about artificial intelligence, and it's one of the most incredible movies that I've ever seen in my life. I'd highly, highly recommend it. But essentially it's the basis of the movie is you have this billionaire, a little bit like Elon Musk, right? You have this, tech billionaire that is inventing AI, and he's trying to figure out how to prove that the AI is cognizant. And the only test that he can come up with to prove that the AI is cognizant is if it tries to manipulate people in order to get what it actually wants, because that proves
Yeah.
a couple of different things. And I would highly suggest watching it. It's super, super scary. But I think there's obviously this the Terminator side of things that everybody's going crazy about, and they think doomsday is going to happen. And I don't believe in that. But what I do think is going to happen is there's an exponential curve. And, AI at the moment is extraordinarily powerful. But what do you think it will be like in 5, 10 years?
I think some people are trying to predict what that will be in five
Hmm.
to 10 years, but nobody knows. This is what I will say. Because we are still, although, so I'll talk in terms of research that is happening behind all of these things, right? So, first of all, uh, the research that has been happening behind the scenes on AI is actually not so there is a gap between the research and the impact, so direct impact. So for example, if we develop an AI that can understand human emotions, right, actually implementing that in real world system is another challenge. So
Hmm.
do you understand there is like a pipeline that has to be followed? So first you come up with an AI that is smart enough, then you have this implementation into real world scenarios, and then testing, and then actual deployment of those AI models.
Hmm.
So these three steps need to be done for the AI to be actually interacting with the real world, right?
Okay.
And what has happened is, although a lot of research, so research is moving quite fast, the implementation in the real world scenario is not there yet. So that gap is there. And and unless there is a quick deployment route for all the technology that is being developed, I think it might be 10 years or so before you could actually see AI in every aspect of a normal person's life, for example. Or you see robots moving around, and then you can actually buy them at home for your daily tasks. That kind of things would take time. That's what I'm saying.
So that is the kind of the snag that we're hitting at the moment is
Yeah.
implementing it into the real world. So do we
Yeah.
have the technology? It's just that we are struggling to
No,
phase
we
it in.
don't. So we don't even have the technology yet. So, for
Right.
example, you take up a very simple example where an AI is looking at a video, any video, a YouTube video, or any real time videos from a phone camera or something like that. The way it describes the scene is very mechanical. So it says there is a person sitting on a chair. This car is moving in this direction. It might hit, there might be a collision, stuff like that. But when we see the scene, we can understand the context behind it. For example, I can see some, if a human looks at this conversation, they might predict that there's a podcast going on, right? But
Yeah.
so there is a lot of context behind human understanding from years and years of us absorbing the situations around us, and that is completely missing from AI. And there is this example that how does a child learn, right? So when a child is born, they start to learn language, they start to learn environment, they start to learn words, they start to learn context. That kind of understanding, that kind of learning capabilities are still not present in AI, and until and unless they are present, we cannot see like scary stuff out there. So yeah, so I think uh, even the research is not there,
Hmm.
and then bringing it to real world is another challenge.
Do you think that will happen though? Do you think down the line? Now,
No,
listen, it
I
might.
don't think so.
How come?
uh, I just feel like, because I have been working in this field for almost like 10 years now,
Hmm.
and the way it is moving is quite slow. So even like making the AI understand that this is the cause and this is the effect. For example, talk about descriptions of scenes, right? Or
Hmm.
just identifying what is happening in the scene. The cause, so telling the AI that this is the cause of this event, and if you do this, this might happen, is also very difficult. Like it, just throwing large amounts of data is not the solution anymore, I feel, because there is already like AI which has been given millions and billions of examples and data. But giving that human like understanding to the AI is now what people are looking at, like creating specific models for specific problems, sort of
Mhm.
something like that. So that's why I feel that even 10 years down the line, we won't be able to. So maybe we will be very close to a human like AI system that can actually hallucinate or behave like a human, or we may feel that it's like a human, but actually it won't be.
And but so I suppose from my perspective, because you've
I don't
got
know. I feel like you thought that that might happen, and I'm breaking your heart when I'm
no,
saying
no,
that.
no, not at all. I'm fascinated. But what I'm most fascinated with is the scalability of it and how quickly it's moving. Right, because I remember 5 years ago using, or was it even out 5 years ago? Maybe 4 years ago using ChatGPT, and it was awful. It sucked. You could,
Yeah,
you know, you
yeah.
couldn't. Whereas now, you ask it something, and
Gives very
sometimes,
reasonable answers.
yeah,
Yes, especially
very
the premium versions of things are brilliant. Actually, yeah,
absolutely brilliant. And
yeah.
see, in terms of idea generation, if I do YouTube and podcasts, so a lot of what I do is sometimes I'll run out of ideas and I'll say to
Mm.
ChatGPT, listen, give me 20 ideas for watch videos that have high retention rates, XXX, be very specific. And normally it gives you 10 that kind of suck, but then the other 10 you think, actually, that I could probably use that. And it's the exponential curve in which it's moving that I suppose people are bouncing on and taking anxiety from, maybe because of how fast it's going up.
So actually, so one more thing is, what is AI according to most of the people? I think what people have started doing is associating ChatGPT, Gemini, all these models with AI. But AI is much more, right? What ChatGPT, uh, Gemini, all these things are offering are more towards textual text side of things, where you're bouncing off ideas, getting help with writing, for example, getting help with your daily task and stuff like that. But the AI should be is much more multimodal than that.
Hmm.
And what I mean by multimodal is not just absorbing text information, but videos, generative capabilities as well. So if you just look at this agentic AI, which is using text information mainly, then yes, that is very advanced at the moment. But for me, AI is more multimodal, where for example, an AI model sees videos or sees outside environments or hear information, that all information, like the models that process that information are still like not very mature,
Right.
is what I will say. So there should be like a line drawn between what people understand of AI. Copilot,
Mhm.
ChatGPT are not just, that's not AI. That's, I mean, that is AI, but that's not the extent of it. There is a lot more to it compared to what people are actually using.
Sure,
So
sure. No, no, and I totally agree. But if you
mm,
have, I suppose what I would say there, if you have, let's say, ChatGPT that is more
mm,
information based, and
mm,
within, let's say, 4 years, it's become pretty advanced. It's still got more to
mm,
go, but it's pretty good. You then have the video side of things. So a big issue in my field, because I do podcasts and YouTube, is
mm,
impersonation. So
mm.
essentially, people can take my face and the hundreds of hours of content, put it into an AI module, and make me say stuff that
Yeah.
I never said. And
Yeah. So yeah, that AI exists. Yes.
and it's good. Like, don't get me wrong. Sometimes, I mean, it's been done to me, and I'm doing something, saying something that I never said, and you can kind of tell. You can tell it's kind of cut together, but
Yeah.
it's getting better. And if you
It's getting
think,
better. And
yeah,
sometimes the fake videos, sometimes it's difficult for me to understand as well that those are fake
yeah,
videos.
yeah,
But and yeah, it's getting much more realistic. It's getting uh difficult, like hard to differentiate from
mhm,
real stuff. But I was thinking more towards help AI helping people rather than the AI being used for this this stuff. So actually, this is the issue, right? If you keep on deploying AI models unchecked for different things, or keep on making the AI as better as possible, and there's no safeguard around it,
Hmm.
that's a problem as well. So I think that side of things, where you talk about AI safety, where you talk about AI ethics, that those side of things need to be pushed more,
Yeah.
while you are doing like where h- as and how the AI is developing. But I think that side is missing quite a bit. So, for example, where is the so kids talking to ChatGPT about mental health? It
Hmm.
shouldn't be allowed at all. So now they are changing. Obviously, they are improving like the safety of these tools around kids and stuff like that. But this was not there, and every new technology that is coming in has to be safeguarded and has to be associated with some ethical concerns and stuff like
Yeah.
that around it. So that's why I'm that's why I keep on saying that although it's there, but I think there will be blockers as well.
Yeah.
So for example, an AI technology is released and then they realize there's a major safety concern, so it will be withdrawn, something like that. So actually, it so the AI being used for our daily tasks requires a lot more effort in the background than what there is at the moment. And that's why I feel like it being a real scare, or it being a part of our it's a part of our day-to-day life, but like really embedding into our daily lives might take a little bit of time because of all these concerns: real world deployment,
Hmm.
safety, safeguarding, all these kind of things need more effort as well. So yeah.
Yeah, no, and I totally agree. And I think with any tech, when you look at anything, whether it's, the rise of mobile phones or social media, the
Mm.
tech seems to be one step ahead of the law because it moves so fast.
Yeah.
So what
Yeah.
happens is you have this disconnect. The tech's moved up a step, the law hasn't caught it yet, and that's what's happening with the likes of AI. You mentioned children speaking about mental health. No one would have foreseen that because they weren't there yet, and the law hasn't quite caught up to that. So
Yeah.
that could be an issue.
So that might just stop the development somewhere, that
Yeah.
okay, now we need to stop and think about all these things before we move on to the next step. So that's what my uh, thinking about that is. But so also, like, there are so many things that that nobody's talking about. So for example, taking health advice from ChatGPT, that I have this rash, and then it might directly go to a very big thing, and people get anxious and stuff like that. Taking dietary plans, when you don't know the for example, some people are taking some medications, right? And then they don't know whether the diet the ChatGPT has given them might interfere with their medications. So
Hmm.
these kind of things people are not thinking about while using it. And I feel like there will be a line drawn, when they will say, okay, stop this, going forward before we fix all of these things. So there might be like, I think instead of an exponential growth, you might have like a step ladder based
Yeah.
growth. But yeah,
Well, that's probably a good thing, right? Because you want you.
it's a good thing, and that's how it should be. It
Hmm.
should nothing no technology should be developed unchecked. But yeah, but in terms of what you were saying, that people have produced your videos and put them on, that technology is developed quite a bit. And the more examples you could give to the AI model of you, for example, the more realistic your output would look like.
When it comes to AI and technology, sometimes I think to myself, maybe the old ways were better. And when it comes to luxury watches in particular, the old ways, they were better. Chisholm Hunter is an authorized retailer for all the luxury watch brands that you love. Tag Heuer, Tudor, Tissot, Vacheron Constantin, Blancpain, Breguet, and many, many more. Pretty much every luxury watch brand you can think of, Chisholm Hunter are authorized retailers of them. Now, I'm a watch collector. I have been for years. I've actually got an Omega Seamaster on today, which is the king in the industry, but I have tons of different watches, and all of them I've bought through Chisholm Hunter. They are my family-run jewelers, and they've been going for over 165 years. And when you're making a luxury watch purchase that is primarily emotionally driven, it's so important to have trust with your retailer. Now, Chisholm Hunter are world-renowned for their luxury diamonds, and also they're authorized retailers for watches. So if you're looking for something for yourself or a loved one, head to chisholmhunter.co.uk. That is chisholmhunter.co.uk. And while you're there, use the discount code CHSUB. That is the discount code CHSUB for 10% off selected lines. That is chisholmhunter.co.uk, chisholmhunter.co.uk, and the discount code is CHSUB. And without further ado, let's get back to the more futuristic conversation of AI. How long do you think it will take until the video side of AI looks like real? You know, it's already
So
pretty
you mean
close.
generative AI?
Yeah.
Generative? Yeah, it won't take long. I think 5 years is also a stretch. We are we are getting very close to realistic videos. Even the backgrounds are being produced so realistic right now. I think we are not very far off, and especially because all the big companies are working in that domain. I think the we will reach that point very soon.
Do you see that as an issue when it comes to social media and kind of mental well-being of people having
A huge issue. And then there's so it's so easy, and with the environment around us right now, it's so easy to spread like hatred and fake news, and usually that's the thing which gets more traction. This is what happens on social media, right? So yes, it's a big concern. That's why I was saying before as well that putting a check on all those technologies. For example, Ofcom, they are brilliant at it, right? They can identify these things. They have algorithms that are being developed to just check this online safety of people and kids and stuff like that. So along with that, there is a big requirement of developing the safety around AI as well, especially with this video generation technology, which is moving at such a fast pace. So if you issue that, it must have already happened multiple times, Trump saying something, and that might just lead to wars and stuff like that. You never know if it keeps on going like this. But yeah, it's a major concern, I think so.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, talk to me a bit about your background, because in simple terms, the way that I
Hmm.
understand it is it's almost interpreting the way AI would watch videos and images and understand what's
So
happening.
for me, yeah. So what I am working on is machine perception. So what does that mean is that give machines a capability to see, understand, and describe the world like humans do. So making that understanding as close to humans as possible. So if a machine is looking at a video, it should be able to predict that this, for example, a cooking video, somebody's cooking a fried chicken, right? So understanding what, first of all, the sequence of the events, machine should be able to describe everything like this, not just describe, oh, a chicken was put into a bowl. Not like that. So a proper recipe could come out of it, cause and effect could come out of it, each event would have a history to it, sort of that narrative understanding, giving machines that narrative understanding. That's what I have been working on. And when it's looking at a, for example, a football match, right, and somebody kicked a goal, so it should not just say that a player kicked the goal, but a context behind it. The person was in one end of the field, and then it from the left side of the field to the right side of the field, the goal was kicked, these many players were surrounding, and this could have happened, this could not have happened, this kind of understanding which humans have. So that's what I work on. So giving AI more human like understanding. And the I've been working on that for a while, and that's why I said that before as well, that we still have some way to go to achieve that human like understanding for AI. In terms of generative AI, yes, it's getting much better. But if you try to generate short videos with very specific thing, then it is quite realistic. But if you try to generate longer videos, for example, you want to create a story of kids, story for kids, where they are talking about, for example, a kid talks about a dragon and dragon goes somewhere. So if you want to create a whole video with a story, that's still not possible, like a good story. And that's why, for example, uh, that's why I said that even that technology is limited. So it's limited to short videos, but longer videos it fails quite miserably. So yeah, this is what I mainly work on: machine perception, human like machine perception.
What is the most exciting breakthrough that you've had in that field?
So I work in three different domains in
Mhm.
machine perception. So one is 3D 4D modeling of scenes. So I don't know whether you're aware of it or not. So generating like 3D models of a person. So and that model then can like an avatar of a person in 3D space, and that then you can actually animate that avatar. You can change their clothing. This type of technology, this computer graphics type of technology, is used a lot in gaming industry, in creative industries, in entertainment. So that's one field. The second field is video understanding, where I was talking about like creating text descriptions of whatever is happening in the scene in real time or on offline videos. And the third one is generative AI, where you are kind of generating 2D images or 2D videos from text information. So I think one of the breakthroughs that has happened in 3D and 4D vision, so that modeling side of things, earlier to create a 3D model, we needed like multiple cameras or multiple views of the same thing. So for example, if you want to create a 3D model of you right now, we would need multiple photos from different angles.
Right. So you've got right, left, behind.
Right,
You
left,
get, yeah.
behind, and at least 8 to 16 views to
Wow.
generate a good quality model, like a photorealistic model. And now you can do that from a single image. So
Wow.
I think that was a complete breakthrough in this 3D 4D vision modeling after AI came through. And the more data it is looking at, the more realistic the models are becoming. So then basically you can unlock these use cases where you're watching a TV or a drama, and then you can create a 3D model sitting at home from a phone and then
Mhm.
insert yourself in that 3D drama. So these kind of use cases can be unlocked
Mhm.
with that capability, right? In terms of generating like text descriptions or understanding the scenes, the videos or any scene around you or any environment, for that, I think the achievement there is that so making the descriptions more narrative, adding context to it, adding cause and effect information to it. So now the descriptions that we have could actually predict some causes and some effect, and in a short video but also a long video. So I think that is quite novel. I think that is a breakthrough sort of in that field, because it it is because it's a challenge to give context to AI. And if the AI could understand the context behind any new video that it has not seen before, that's quite interesting, sort of.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
Do you think it would be possible in the future with that modeling that you were talking about there, taking one picture and that's all it needs to get a 3-4D scale? Do you think it'd be possible to, let's say I'm playing, I don't know, Warzone on the PS5 and
Mm.
we're gaming. Do you think it'd be possible for people to take a picture of themselves and then have them put into that game?
Yes, definitely. And that's not very far away. So I
Wow.
think being you playing the game
Mhm.
is quite, like, I don't think that's very far off, because all you have to take a picture, upload to the game, and you will have your 3D avatar. I think you can also you will also be able to select the outfit you want on yourself,
Hmm.
and then you can actually see yourself animating through the whole game. And I think that's already been like already an ongoing research area which a lot of people are working on at the moment.
Wow.
So you might be able to do that soon.
That's very
So
exciting.
yeah, and even I think these big broadcast companies might
Hmm.
launch something like this, like personalized uh, experiences to their users, especially if you are viewing something on AR, VR headsets and stuff like that. This capability is not very far off.
Where do you think the law should sit around that? And I know this is speculative because it's not there yet, but for example, if I'm to, do a 4D scan of me, upload all my podcasts and upload all my YouTube videos to AI and it can produce a really realistic video of me saying something, does that not take my job away?
Yes, sort of. So, but they're not taking your thinking away, because you're still sitting and generating ideas and stuff like that. I don't know. I mean, so have you seen this video of, I think it was David Beckham? He did an advertising for some company, but everything was AI generated. All they had was a 3D model of David Beckham, and then his the whole advertisement was generated from his, obviously he signed off on that,
Yeah.
but he was actually not present during the shooting of
Oh
that
my
advertisement. Everything
God.
is AI generated and it looks so realistic. So yeah, that's why people keep on saying that there is a problem that this might replace jobs and stuff like that. So it's quite possible that,
Hmm.
for example, somebody can launch a faceless podcast channel, but the avatar can come from you, for example. It's possible, but I and yeah, there needs to be better laws around it.
That I think that's what scares people is the so I think that everybody needs purpose in life, right? And people
Yeah.
get purpose in different ways. You know, I'm a photographer and videographer. I enjoy speaking to people. I have a podcast. That's my purpose. I love that. And to have something stepping in and slowly chipping away at jobs and taking jobs is getting rid of people's purpose. And I think
Yeah.
that's the key for me as to why people I think are really scared.
Yeah, no, no, I agree with you. And not just this job, right? For example, people who used to create animations, animated movies and stuff like that, a lot of production people who work on the production side of things are becoming automated because of AI. A lot of people who used to just look at the videos and archive them. So yeah, it's I agree with you. That's one of the scary part, and that's what I said in the beginning as well. So the scary in terms of sci-fi movies, no, but scary in terms of it replacing jobs is quite possible.
And what do you think I know again speculative because it's not quite there yet, but in your
Mm.
opinion, working in that field, do you think that there should be a law stating that that can't happen?
There should not be a law stating that that can happen, but there should be a law stating that if that happens, these are the things that need to be followed. I think
Mm,
instead of law following after following the technology after something has gone wrong, they should think about what might happen and develop laws around it,
mm.
because the way it is changing, it might take longer for the laws to be enforced compared to the technology doing a good bit of a damage in terms of different things. So yeah, I think law should be leading the way, not following the technology.
And yeah, and that's such a good statement right there because whenever you look at any billionaire that's made money, they're normally one step ahead of the law.
Yeah.
Anyone. If you look at Elon Musk, he had a monopoly on the EV cars prior to them becoming a
Mm.
thing. You wouldn't be able to allow you. You're not allowed to do that anymore because that's a monopoly. He
Yeah.
specifically designed the chargers to only fit Teslas. That was
Yeah.
legal then. It's no longer legal now. So he was
No,
way
but
ahead of the
he
curve.
already made so much money out of it.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. And he did prior to it becoming, a law. If you look at social media, realistically, Mark Zuckerberg owns the monopoly on social media. That was
Yeah.
allowed then because no one understood what it was. But now you look
Mm.
at that and think that should not be the case.
No, no. So that's what I said, that it should be the other way around. And for example, the generative AI stuff, there should be laws on the content that is being put on. And currently, there are some things which have been enforced. For example, there is a requirement now, for example, to say that this is AI generated, right? There's this blockchain technology which helps with that as well. But it's not covering every aspect of the things that are out there already. So,
Yeah, and it is it's very scary. I mean when you look at it through a holistic view and you look
mm,
40, 50, 60 years into the future, how long will it take for AI to be smarter than people?
smarter than people. I wish I had an answer to that question. I hope that that doesn't happen.
Mm.
But uh, I mean, the biggest point is that AI is data hungry, and unless it has seen something, it won't learn that. So I don't think that will happen. AI cannot be smarter than humans. I
Even if
still strongly
it's
believe that.
even if it's uploaded to the I don't know, you upload it to Google and it can read every single thing that's on the internet ever or uploaded.
No, no, no,
How
because it
come?
still lacks I just feel like it just so so you know so do you understand the difference? So how different are humans compared to an AI?
Mm.
So AI looks at some data and learns from that data and probably develops some understanding from the data that has seen,
Mhm.
right? But humans, we have perception, we have emotions, and I think that is what differentiates. And our cognitive brain is much different than how an AI works. So
Hmm.
I don't think an AI can ever reach the capability of a human brain. Actually almost 100% sure about it. It's like it's not possible.
It's an interesting take, and that's why I'm asking, because it's, when you go
Have
online,
you seen other people saying that it might be like a
oh
human?
yeah, it's Terminator
Really?
Salvation all over again. I think that everyone,
What?
I think that, listen, I think most people catastrophize, and things that they don't understand, typically they jump to the worst possible conclusion, right? Because that's naturally people gravitate toward negativity. Just look at the news.
Hmm.
There's not one positive thing on there ever, because people naturally gravitate towards negative. And I suppose what I would say there is, have you heard of Neuralink?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you can imagine Neuralink is getting installed in someone's head, and there's little spirals going out to the brain that is causing people to, use a computer when they're paralyzed, which is incredible. The studies are saying that it should be able to hopefully start to repair spinal injuries, all these kind of things. Could it not be possible that there's an AI in there that then reads essentially your brain?
That is possible. That
Uh,
is possible, I think.
And then
But
at that point, would it not
AI
be?
turning more than so AI being so there's a difference between IQ and there's a difference between human like intelligence.
Hmm,
So I think the so AI can read the brain. Okay. Let's say the AI is able to read the brain, but I think the human intelligence cannot absolutely cannot be copied, or the AI wouldn't reach that human intelligence level at all. And actually, if you there's a video in my department. So when we were so CVSSP, I work with CVSSP University of Surrey, and then there was a video which was launched I think 2-3 years ago. Can machines think? So
hmm,
that the whole video was about can machines think, and there are lots and lots of professors who are working in this field who talk about that. And even if you see that video, almost each and every person would say that they believe the machine that machine intelligence cannot reach human intelligence in the end, because the way our brains work is very different than how AI works. Maybe after 50-60 years the AI could, so for example, you can make like a robot that is able
hmm.
to interact with you smartly, that's able to understand your body language, that's able to uh, do do tasks which we do every day, but that cognitive capabilities that human have, a machine cannot have. I still strongly believe that. And I think people lot of people who don't know about AI are creating these rumors that,
Sure.
oh, this will happen, the machines will take over. But people who are actually working in the field, I don't think they usually say these things.
Yeah, yeah. I suppose it's just having that outsider's view. There was a really interesting video that I saw, and I'll link it down below so that everyone knows where it is, and I'll send it to you. But essentially, they put two humanoid AI robots in a room, and
Mm-hmm.
they were observing them, and they allowed them to have a conversation. And within
Mm-hmm.
about 5 minutes, the AIs just made up their own language model and started talking to each other in a different language, and the people couldn't understand it, and they had to shut the whole project down.
Is that real?
Well, I'm pretty. Let me just look it up right now. I'm
Okay.
pretty sure it is. AI robots talk in own language. Okay, let's see. So videos. I was sure it was on the news, and I'm sure that I saw this. It was about a year and a half, 2 years ago. Machines, and I'm so sure it was real. What I'll do, I will look this up, and I'll put it in the link in the
Yes, you
description.
you have a look at it, but because so I when I talk about these things, I talk about the research that has already been published in
Hmm.
like big journals, top tier world journals from Harvard, Stanford, all these places. And even if you look at that research, it's just like I feel okay, the capability is far behind, but I don't know about that video, and I
Hmm.
don't know what was done to actually record that video. I feel like a lot of people, so it's not about creating fake videos, it's about creating that illusion that the actually robots might be talking to each other. You never know what data they were trained on.
Yeah, and you never
So
know what they're actually sharing as well, I suppose.
exactly, there's no transparency, and if that was real, then it should have been published in a real place, or it should have some sort of like track record behind it.
Yeah,
Suddenly seeing this video, I never get convinced, because until unless I see the research and the documents and the proof behind it, there's the anybody can generate that. I can take
yeah.
two robots, train them on something very easily,
Hmm.
making up their own language and stuff like that, and they can do that then in a room, so you don't know what has happened behind the experiment.
Hmm.
This is what
Yeah,
I'm.
well, I suppose, and you don't know what's coded into the AI prior to
No.
you kind of using it. I've just, so it's the independent newspaper. Facebook's artificial intelligence robots shut down after they start talking to each other in their own language. This was in
See,
twenty
that
twenty.
doesn't seem like a credible news to me. Like, I just feel
Mm,
that that's not possible. So when I see this, I just brush it off usually. But
yeah.
maybe it's real and I'm not aware of it. But yeah,
How much of the news cycles around artificial intelligence are just fake, are just catastrophizing?
too many, too many. I mean,
Mm,
there are these trusted. So I, if you, there are some trusted research sources that you should like, news channels as well, which I follow. But lot of other ones is just like they pick up something out of context. They pick up some small clip from something, and then they just, oh, this has happened. Oh, AI
mm,
can now do this. Oh, AI can now do that. And I think what the news says that AI can do, we see sometimes, oh, they say that it can do it, but when we go back and we say, oh, where is the research? Where is actually
there's
where it
none.
has been done? When you dig into it, there is no credibility behind it.
Mm.
So there's a lot of fear mongering and less things. I think I don't know. So there are I have when I've spoken to people about AI, when they think that okay, the world is changing with AI and everything is going to change. But then after I've spoken to them, I feel like I kind of broke their heart, because they were expecting a lot of this revolution, which is doing so many things, but is actually not. So the examples that we talked about before, for example, a person inserting themselves into a game, into a drama, uh, looking at, for example, a concert just from your home, feeling like you're actually there. These kind of things are possible. Yes, very much possible. Generating fake videos of you, for example,
Yeah.
is all possible. But but that level of like humanoid robots were shut down and that kind of thing, news I don't believe in usually. But I will have I will check the link that you're talking about.
Yeah, yeah, and I'll link it and I'll fire it to you. Have you, I was going to say, have you ever heard of the company? It's based in the States called Colossal.
Yes, I think I have come across them sometime. Yes, I have. Yeah.
So what they're doing is they're using, this is really interesting, and it just goes to show that not all AI is negative. A lot of it is very exciting and can really help people. But they're essentially using AI to fill in the gaps of genetics, specifically in instinct
Yeah, I remember
creatures.
that. Yes, I think they did they get a huge round of funding recently or something like that for their research.
Yeah, they
I
created a
saw it
dire
on
wolf.
LinkedIn. Yes.
Yeah, they created a
Yeah.
dire wolf and a woolly hamster or a woolly mouse,
Mm,
and is essentially taking woolly mammoth DNA and putting it into a hamster, which is insane. So they've
yeah.
done that, and it's using AI to fill in the gaps of the genetics. And
Mm.
like I think that's so exciting when it comes to
That is
I,
super brilliant. I think
yeah.
all the stuff. I'll let you finish first, and then I will talk about AI and health. Yes.
Well, yeah. I was just going to say, how do you think that AI will help us on our path to, curing illness when it comes to genetic factors? There's a company called CRISPR off the back of that focus on AI implicated, genetic factors that AI can help and predict who's going to have what and how to stop it. And yeah, it's super exciting.
So I think AI and health is it will be mind blowing. This is
Mm.
what I feel absolutely. Not in just like diagnosis of the diseases. So for example, early diagnosis of things, but in cure as well. And I think this genetic technology, the AI based genetic technology, is really promising. And there was another company which was looking at, for example, if the parents have some sort of um, genetic markers for some diseases,
Hmm.
when they are creating like babies or stuff like that, when in the IVF process they can actually alter all those DNA based things just to make sure that
Wow.
the kid doesn't get that disease. And I think those kind of things are really promising, and there people are actively researching on it. And I think it will be rolled out as well. Like, it's not far off. Maybe in 5 to 10 years we will see huge improvement in healthcare using AI. And that includes robotic surgeries as well, right?
Wow.
There are so many surgical errors that happens because of, for example, doctors are overtired and these kind
Yeah.
of things. But if that robotic surgery is already being used, right? This is what we know. But but having that AI into, like, incorporating that AI component within the robotic surgery, that's what being explored. Because when for example somebody opens up when they are doing the surgery, you
Hmm.
never know what you will find. And if the robots can actually identify those things and then move around with that, that would be brilliant as well, right? So I think in diagnosis, in treatment, in prevention, in surgery, everything, AI would be of a lot of help. And I really believe the power of AI in health and medicine and stuff like that. And although again there are some fake stuff, but lots of promising things as well. And I think all these startups, especially in West Coast, there is one more startup which works with so for example, to prevent this sort, so like COVID happened, right? So
Yeah.
prevent that kind of um, uh, spread and stuff like that, just using AI. These kind of things are being explored as well. So I really believe in that. And then helping, for example, disabled people, helping elderly people in their homes, in their day-to-day tasks and stuff like that, that's also very useful. Yes.
That's incredible
So I'm a
news.
big believer of AI in health.
Yeah, yeah. Well, so am I. I think it's unbelievably exciting. You know, we people are sometimes limited by human factors, right? We get
Yeah.
tired, we get
Yeah.
emotional. You know, if there's a doctor that's operating on a kid that could die, you can see that the stress of that. I mean,
Yeah.
Jesus God. But then if you do have a machine there, strip away the emotion, strip away any tiredness, strip away the
Yeah.
fact that they've been out last night for a couple of drinks,
Yeah.
and you get something that is consistently performing at a certain level
Yeah.
and hopefully doesn't malfunction. Well, that's the hope. That is unbelievable news.
Yeah, and then think about the times when people were not able to reach their doctors because of the like unavailability of the doctors as well. So
Mm.
these kind of things would be possible. And if you talk about the developing countries or countries where there is lack of resources, just sending one robotic surge, like that kind of help might be another level of uh, improvement sort of thing,
Hmm.
right, for their medical facilities. So it's just yeah, I think in 5 to 10 years we will see a proper difference in the AI for in the AI and health domain.
That's exciting. And how would that work? Does the AI take the genetics of people, reads the genetics, and then give you a prognosis based on that?
So so there are different applications. So I am not aware of the exactly the AI genetics because that's, I have not read into that too much, but I can give you example. For example, cancer diagnosis.
Hmm.
So what they do is they take an AI model and they take up data which, for example, NHS has, or any uh, already like hospitals, and data from these places,
Hmm.
and then train the AI model on that data. And there is a doctor or a human person in the loop who actually knows what they are doing with all their degrees and stuff like that.
So they're checking.
So they, yeah, they along with the data, then train the model to diagnose these things. And what happens is, once the model has seen a lot of data, it is able to detect, for example, very early whether this can or this person might have cancer in the future, or maybe it's already starting or something like that. So very early diagnosis of cancer based on the data that has seen. And it is not just fed like the data where the cancer was present, but also what a healthy person's scan might look like.
Hmm.
So it knows, it has that context behind it. Okay, this is what a healthy scan looks like, this is what a cancerous scan look like, these are the different stages of cancer with different scans. So this type of data is fed into the AI,
Wow.
and the more the data it sees, the more smarter it becomes. So there was this recent study where they said that, for example, for breast cancer, they have been successful in creating an AI model that can detect breast cancer very early.
Oh, that's
And
amazing.
if you detect that early, then obviously you are improving so many other things
Hmm.
along with it. So I think, yeah, it's, but the problem with AI and health is that the data access is really hard. So if people are working in AI in health, getting access to the right kind of data to train the models
Hmm.
is a big challenge, because obviously the data protection laws. So if you have, for example, your
Ah.
data with the NHS, they are not allowed to share your data with any person who's developing that AI model. So everything has to be anonymized, everything. So there's like a huge laws behind that kind of medical data sharing. And that's what makes the development of these kind of models slightly slower
Hmm.
compared to the video and audio and images side of things, where everything is available so easily. So, but the more, so that's why what academics or researchers or big companies are trying to do is directly collaborate with these big hospitals, big medical bodies, so that they can get access to the data. Once they have access to the data, then they will be able to develop these type of models and stuff like that. So
That's incredible. And what else in terms of, because there's the health aspect, which is just unbelievable, and I'm super excited for that. Is there any other aspects of AI models that you've seen real exciting data around that will really help
security.
us? Security.
Security. Yeah. So I think there is a lot of scope of improving the security using AI, or preventing big incidents using AI. So, for
Hmm.
example, there were lots of these, there are some like areas in UK, for example, where there is a lot of crime. And using AI to detect early whether a conflict might be rising or an incident might occur is an easy way to improve the security around it. But again, the problem is the access to the data actually. So I think there is a lot of potential of AI to improve the security or reduce the crime or these kind of things. But again, the development there is slightly slower than what you see in the other fields compared to the other fields.
How can we speed? How do you think they could speed that up? Because you can't, like,
Collaborations, so
but
collaborations between the right, so for example, collaboration between universities and
yeah.
police department, collaboration between universities and researchers with defense department, these kind of things would help. Where,
But then
yeah.
how do you pick what AI eventually wins the data? Like if you look at, there's a race, right? In
Mm,
terms of, you've got ChatGPT, Grok, Gemini, all these different AI models that are
mm-hmm,
looking at the same market and thinking we can make
mm.
money here. So how do you morally prioritize who gets that data?
So who's prioritizing the data that ChatGPT has is very different than the data that the security AI model would look at.
Hmm.
And the ChatGPT definitely doesn't have access to any of that data that I'm talking about, be it health, or because that's the data that I'm talking about is real data where real people are involved
Hmm.
with their full identities and stuff like that. So these type of models, all these uh, big models, they have not seen that data. So when you are creating specialized AI models, for example, for application in health, for application in security, for application in blockchaining, for example, so these type of models are very specific, and they they obviously are trained on public information and public data sets, not like so publicly available data set, not public data sets,
Yeah.
but they then are trained specifically on a specific problem for smaller or different kind of data set that nobody has seen.
Right.
So that
Okay.
data is still protected. ChatGPT, Gemini has not seen that data. None of that data has been seen by those places. That data lies somewhere else, very protected.
But
And we
but
are developing a cancer, for example, early diagnosis of cancer. You will have to go to that place where the data is and then train the model on that data, and nobody else will see that data.
surely there's still a moral issue where the whoever gets selected as that specific AI model, there's
Hmm.
money behind it, right?
Lot of so yeah, so that's why there are so many startups right now which are
Mm.
trying to work in AI and health and AI and security. And I think people with right connections, uh, with right networking skills might get there faster, and they will make a lot of money. And there's a lot of opportunity to make money in these places.
But
And using
would you not say that
there is no morality, that there's no nothing there.
mm,
So there's no definition that okay, this person will benefit or this person will not benefit. It totally depends on where you are at the moment and where you're launching your startup and which type of connections you have.
yeah. See, I find that just really weird. I find the privatization of things always corrupts it without fail, because money
Yeah.
as it stands is the number one thing that corrupts people. And I just find it strange that somebody in government realistically will have a
Mm-hmm.
friend that's got an AI model and they'll go, "You're now a billionaire." And that's just, that's probably the way it's going to happen. Is
But it is what it is, right? It's not just with AI. It's always been happening with normal technology as well, right? If somebody had like created a software to do something, say create a digitization of NHS, for example, making NHS digital, right? So people who would have got the right connections would have made more money compared to the people who wouldn't have that. So
but
I think that's how it has been happening forever, and AI is not different in any case there. So
yeah, for sure.
yeah,
I suppose my worry, or not my worry, my gripe is with the government in terms of who, because there was tons of stuff that came out over COVID of PPE scams. Government were paying people for PPE. They were then sending the money offshore. There was tons of stuff, and it turns out that the government were just friends with the people. So all of a sudden, a lot of people became rich overnight, and then left the UK with all the taxpayers' money, and the government went, "Well, we don't know where it is." And I just think that with AI coming into the mix, and there'll be so many different modules. I mean, we talked about security, we talked about health, we talked about AI, video creation. There'll definitely be AI models when it comes to organizing files. All of this will be under government contract. And I just wonder whether it should be public instead of privatized.
I so I don't know, like, what do you mean by that exactly? Because it's just like somebody has to solve these problems. So, for example, for government as well, they don't have the resources to produce PPE equipment, right?
Hmm.
And somebody has to do it. And I don't know what inside policies are on this exactly, but if some and I don't know what do you mean by public, right?
So,
Who do you think public is?
so the
Who
public
should be doing?
the public would be funded by essentially the taxpayer, because then you have a non.
But where do you find these? So it's difficult to find these type of capabilities, and get the right team ready. So you need people with those skills, and getting people with those skills at the right place and right time and jumping all the loops and all of that is a very difficult task. That's why privatization helps, right? Because people have already formed teams. For example, there's somebody who comes together with an healthcare expertise, with an AI expertise, with a doctor, right? And that team is so much more valuable than what if you have somebody working in AI somewhere, somebody working in healthcare somewhere. So that team is much more valuable, and they can create a big impact because of the way they are,
Yeah.
uh, because of the skills they have, right? And that's why privatization brings things together quickly, rather than if you just rely, for example, you think, okay, government should hire someone and then they should work on it, and that will take ages. And so I think that's not a solution as well. There should be, I don't know, but it's just that we have to move quickly as well. We cannot
Mm.
just keep on sitting on something which has a potential to save a lot of lives, or which has a potential to impact a lot of things, and then not do it just because we think that it might be biased.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I suppose from my perspective, it's more the moral compromise of you are dealing with people's lives, and then but as a result, you have someone in the government that might just know someone well that they met at the pub, and they give them a contract. And I know that's the way life works, but I suppose it's to me it's figuring out the morally compromising positions, which healthcare would
So
definitely be one.
I am not aware of this news at all, that
Mm.
somebody, like, I maybe missed it about the PPE equipment, but I don't. So I don't even know the processes behind it, that
Mm.
exactly how that happens. Uh, but there's something called as government tenders, right? Which people submit to, and then they win the tenders and stuff like that. But in that, I think they rip off all they anonymize everything so that it's the reviews are fair.
Mhm.
But I don't know. I don't know the exact processes behind it. So I'm
Yeah.
not the best person to comment on it.
No, no, sure, sure. I think it's difficult. I think wherever you have money floating around, there's always going to be a degree of corruptibility on whoever is there, whether it be the government
Yeah.
or the private company. Um,
Yeah.
you look at what happened with the Sackler family in America and the opiate epidemic, and that was 100% corrupt from the top to the bottom. They were paying people
Yeah.
off. They were doing X, Y, and Z. People knew it was killing, and they just did it anyway because it's corruptible. Money corrupts all, and that's my point. I suppose it's more my moral compass says that shouldn't be allowed.
So yeah, I mean, I agree with you that it shouldn't be allowed. But
Mm.
what I was saying is that, do we have a better solution?
No.
Sometimes, and to be honest, when these news come, I think of this as well at the back, right? So first of all, you don't know what other people were offering. For example, somebody submitted like a request to produce PPE equipment. Maybe the delivery times were not matching. Maybe the costs were too high. Maybe something
Mm.
else was wrong. But the way that is presented outside is quite different. I think the problem is that we some things getting presented out of context, and there is a lack of information or the background behind what how the decision was taken. So maybe more
Sure.
transparency would help as well in that case. Because yeah, for example, if a company goes, you are in government and you're
Mm.
making the decision, a company goes to you and says that, we can deliver this robotic surgery in 2 years, and this will cost slightly more. Other company says and that, it will cost less but will deliver in 4 years. Then you have to make a decision, right? So
Yeah.
uh, these kind of things, like, I think matter a lot when people are actually making decisions. But when it is presented outside to the outside public, this type of, it's just present, oh, this was awarded to this company which was costing higher. This
Yeah.
can be a news like this, right? But they don't know whether the time scale or the deliverables or these kind of things that were being offered. So I think there's a lack of information behind what uh, is put out there, even from the government side of things.
Yeah. Why do you think that is? I mean, bringing it back to the AI specifically, I mean,
Mm,
so I'm 28, so all
mm,
my friends are very much in the social media sphere still. Although that's probably going to change because they're all going to start having kids and all that scary stuff. But their perspective, their perspective is that it's we're all going to die. AI is going to take over the world. And I suppose, why is there not enough information on the back end of people like yourself saying, listen, AI is great, but it's not, I mean, relax, it's not going to do that.
because people don't love genuine opinions. I feel that's what I feel like. For example, the director of my institute, right? If he goes everywhere and says that no, we are AI is still developing.
Mm,
It's not, that doesn't make for interesting news. If
right.
another person comes up with no knowledge and then says, oh, AI is going, for example, everybody is going to die. So that news is easy to propagate. I don't know. I'm just kidding for this. I I think so. There are two different uh, domains where this news circulates. One
Mhm.
is actually academic conferences, academic, like proper, uh, where proper information is there. The other one is social media, and there has always been a huge gap between where the actual information is there and social media. There are very few people who are connecting that gap between the two.
Mm.
Maybe you are one of them, right? For example, your podcast, I saw that you have lots of relevant lots of interesting podcast on mental health as well, on anxiety, on these kind of things where a real person is coming and talking. But there might be other types of videos on social media saying that, oh, for this anxiety maybe you should do this and it will fix it, but that's not true,
Yeah.
right? So I think there is a gap between actual information and the social media, and there are very few people who are bridging that gap between the two.
Hmm.
That's why. And hype.
Hype's a big one. I think for sure
Mm.
hype's a huge one, especially when something like Ex Machina, that movie I was talking about, comes out, or Terminator, and everyone loses their minds. I think what would be interesting, right? So see, with everything that
Mm-hmm.
and that AI will be replacing jobs, but you also know that it
Mm.
has tremendous benefit across multiple different facets. But then also there might be a mental health factor because people lose their jobs and they lose their purpose. Given everything would you hit the pause button on the progress of AI right now?
No, no, because I feel like that the pros outweigh the cons,
Hmm.
and the cons can be handled if, for example, proper laws exist, or if each technology that is being developed is being deployed is being checked thoroughly. There's safeguarding around it, because I think the impact of AI in so don't you want a safer society, don't you want
Hmm.
a healthier society, don't you want, these kind of things are important, right? So usually AI is being, the benefits I think outweigh the cons. This is what I feel. So I'm not against AI at all. I
Hmm.
think it's, for example, space exploration, right? We didn't touch that domain, but space exploration is a big thing uh as well in AI. So I feel, yeah, no, I will not stop.
It's
I'll
an it's a
encourage.
Yeah, it's an interesting take, because I think that, like, from my perspective, I grew up when I turned about, I don't know, 15, 16, Facebook started to become a thing. It
Mm,
was kind of this weird thing that nobody really knew, but everybody had accounts. And if you take when Facebook and social media was introduced and correlate it with mental health issues and suicides, the line is directly on top of each other.
proportional.
It's proportional.
Mm,
So
mm.
my thing is, what happens if AI does it goes the same way? What happens if you introduce AI, and because so many people are starting to lose their purpose and lose their jobs, you have a proportional line of more people that are getting depressed and having
So
anxiety?
I think it's not about, for example, losing. So there, say that there an AI software came through and it can write research papers, right? And as a part of my job, I write a lot of research papers. So did I become irrelevant? No. Uh,
Hmm.
it's about finding your own purpose again. So how do you use, so somebody sitting and developing a code, right, and is writing a code for some software, and that is taking them 6 months to write a deliverable code. With AI they can do it in 1 month, so it has increased their efficiency, right?
Hmm.
So it's for the people who are losing their jobs. I think it's, they will have to find new skills that the AI cannot replace, or maybe learn to use AI in a way that will help them improve their, like, job prospects or something like that. I feel like there is a mental health issue, I know.
Hmm.
And then when people will lose jobs, we will see again an increase in the suicides and all of those things. But Yeah. It's like that's what I said, right? The benefits outweigh the
The cons.
cons, and it's anyways going to happen. And I think one more thing important is that, for example, the next generation that is coming up, the people who are now learning skills in schools and stuff like that, all needs to be updated. Like, we kids learning to code is not a skill anymore. Kids learning to safely use AI to improve their skills, to learn something new, that's something which is important. And you I there's always thing like you should always upskill yourself, right?
Yeah.
When you are So I think people should look into that as well, constantly upskilling themselves, whether by using AI or not by using AI, but learning skills which AI cannot replace.
Yeah. And I think that even taking a step further than that, I think a lot of the time, not all the time, but a lot of the time, the jobs that AI is replacing, there's not much skill involved in them because
Yeah,
they're monotonous. They are
yeah,
doing the same thing again and again and again in maybe marginally different ways. That doesn't actually take skill. Yeah, you might have, developed the habit of doing it in a certain way, but realistically, that's not really you're not doing anything with your hands. It's not,
yeah,
you're not without sounding blunt about it, maybe there isn't much skill involved in it because it is monotonous. And when you
yeah.
have
And I
someone
think it
that's,
might force people to get creative.
well, that's exactly it. When you have someone that's doing a monotonous job, a lot of the time they don't actually enjoy it because it's the same thing day in, day out. There's no scaling up, there's no scaling down, there's nothing happening. It's just again and again and again, repetition, repetition, repetition. Whereas if you had an AI saying, well, I can do that side of things for you, go and focus on what you enjoy, surely
Yeah.
that's a good thing.
Yeah, I agree with you. And this is what I said, that the AI for me should not be stopped. I'll give you an example, right? In these superstores, like supermarkets and stuff like that.
Mm.
Earlier, there used to be an attendant who will bill everything for you and stuff like that. And then those that was replaced by these machines that you can scan yourself and then do it yourself, right? So even those jobs were replaced.
Hmm.
So technology has been replacing jobs for a long time, just that the speed of replacing jobs has slightly increased now because of AI.
Hmm.
And then what happened is then people started upskilling themselves, or taking some another options and stuff like that. So I think that's just like how things have been going. It's just that now it's slightly faster paced.
I had a really interesting conversation the other day with somebody about stress. And just when you were mentioning the kind of supermarkets there and the automatic checkouts, it kind of sparked it. And I was talking about stress and I was saying, I've got so much on, I've maybe bitten off more than I can chew because I've got the Chisholm Hunter channel, the filming, the editing, then I've got the podcast, research for the pod. There's so many different facets to what's going on. I was like, I'm pretty stressed now. And they said, Harrison, there's a difference between being in control of your time and being stressed, or let's say you're checking people out at a cash desk in Sainsbury's and you've got this queue that just does not stop. And there's no, that right there is real stress and there's no way out of it. Whereas with what people that are in more control of their time can do, they can prioritize, they can duck and dive, they can do different things. And I think AI to a certain degree is alleviating the stress of those monotonous jobs.
Exactly. And it's actually making things possible as well. So, for example, a person who's not an artist can now create animations just
Hmm.
because AI is there to help. So, there are a lot more opportunities that are opening up because some of the tasks that earlier you needed special skill for is not required.
Yeah.
Have you thought about that the other way around as well?
Yeah, that's quite interesting. No.
So, yeah, I feel like there are a lot more opportunities coming through as well with AI.
Hmm.
There's a person who I know, he doesn't work on like 3D he doesn't have a degree in 3D animations. Usually you need that degree to kind of create nice animations, but because of AI, but he knows how to use AI. So he has developed a software that could create beautiful animations which was not possible beforehand.
Wow. Wow. I suppose the opportunity there is endless as well. You see, if you
Yeah.
get onto it early and you have
Yeah.
something, the
Identifying the
opportunity.
opportunity and getting to it early is the key.
Mm,
Virtual try-ons, right?
yeah.
So you must have seen it, or I don't know. Some of the stores are now launching it, but virtual try-ons is brilliant because it kind of increases your sales in a way. So that's all AI. And for virtual try-ons to be possible before, you needed like 3D engineers, graphic engineers, but now you don't need any of that because AI is there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it kind of opens up new opportunities, new venues, new things.
What do you think is one question about AI that people should be asking but aren't?
How safe it is
Ah,
in day-to-day life. What I should and shouldn't be doing with it.
yeah. So they're all jumping to the it's going to kill
Yeah.
us all.
No, or they're just jumping to use it without thinking about what we shouldn't be using AI for.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense. What do you think we shouldn't be using AI for?
So I mentioned some of the things, right? For your health,
Hmm.
for your like um personal develop no, not personal development, like health, medicines,
Yeah.
uh,
Diet.
uh counseling,
Mm.
not for counseling at all, no emotional attachments. These kind of things, like, I think are a red flag when people start and they start treating AI as their friend,
Mm.
and then depending on it, and that's all wrong. It
Is
should be used in an assistant capacity. That's all, not more than that.
is ChatGPT a yes man?
Almost, yes.
Because it kind of seems that way. When I could ask it anything, or I could tell it it's wrong, and it just goes, "Yeah, sorry." And I'm like, "But do you don't understand that you're wrong?" And it just doesn't. It's like it just doesn't. It's speaking to a robot, literally.
Yes. See, cognitive.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, maybe yes. I mean, I think it depends on what you're using it for. But
Mm.
yes, usually it says yes. It agrees to whatever you say is whatever you think is right for ChatGPT or these kind of tools usually.
Is that coded into it?
No, it's not coded into it. It's like, so the agentic capability that is coming to those for in those models
Mm.
uh, is not smart enough. It's not intelligent. It's just that it has seen some data. When you ask a question, it just researches that data and creates a response from that data for you. That's all. And it doesn't, it's not there for like advice. Should I do this or not? You
Mm.
should not be taking advice from ChatGPT because it's not made for advice. That's what I tell everyone. Don't take advice from ChatGPT. It's not
Mm.
like an advising thing. So it's what it is doing, just throwing a lot of data at you. That's all.
It's interesting. I've got quite a few of
It
my
doesn't think.
yeah. I've got quite a few of my mates that I don't want to throw anyone under the bus here, but they're single, and
Hmm.
they'll ask ChatGPT what to reply to a girl.
But see, this is what. So now the if for example they're asking a friend, a human person,
Huh.
that person might ask what the girl like, or the partner, or the
Mm.
whatever person they're looking at is like.
Mhm.
But ChatGPT doesn't know. It'll just it'll look at a lot of, like, I don't know, dating websites. I don't know what it'll look at, a lot of
Mhm.
data, and then it'll just throw some data out there from there. So
It's quite funny, isn't it? Because a lot of my
yeah.
friends,
Yeah.
they'll genuinely,
It's just funny that people start taking advice from ChatGPT for everything. I was like, okay, should I do this or not? Don't
yeah.
ask ChatGPT. It doesn't know. Should I invest in these stocks or not? It's like all it knows is data. It
Mm.
doesn't know your risk appetite. It doesn't know anything.
And it
It
can't
doesn't know
predict the
how
future,
depressed you will be after you send that reply or send that text.
and not get a reply from her.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so weird because my friends they'll screenshot all I've seen it happen. They'll go on dating apps, they'll screenshot all the messages and then they'll upload it to ChatGPT. And they always text me and they're like, "This is such a killer reply. ChatGPT saved me." And then they reply and they get ghosted.
And I don't know. I see. I'm already like married and stuff like so. I don't know about that area and all.
Yeah.
But like right now, but I think that people can even understand whether the replies are coming from Chat GPT. A lot of people can feel the difference between the actual replies and so. For example, the
Yeah.
emails that are coming to me, I can I can read it once and I know whether this was written using a
Mm.
model or a Chat GPT. When my students are writing papers and they're sending their first draft of papers to me, I'm like, okay, don't give me a Chat GPT or this kind of draft. I need a real person writing the paper because you read it and you understand in one go that okay. Because what Chat GPT or these kind of models they don't they add a lot of fluff. So all
Mm.
the adjectives and adverbs and all these things are coming from Chat GPT rather than a real person.
Yeah.
So some people do understand as well that they have written the response using Chat GPT.
Yeah. Can you tell pretty instantly when you're looking at these papers?
I can tell, especially for the official documents that I work with, quite easily. If somebody has written a research proposal using ChatGPT, I can identify quite easily. And it's not about like it's not like they have I am seeing some like something is algorithm coded into it. No,
Huh.
it's just the way the response is written.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's why I said it's not human like at all. And this
No.
kind of capability you cannot give an AI.
Yeah, and it always adds hyphens, and it does. You're right though. It fluffs, and it doesn't
A
actually
lot.
say anything. It just fluffs things up.
No. Yeah. And sometimes when you try to it has given you a paragraph and you read that paragraph, the actual content in that paragraph might be just a few words. Rest is a lot of fluff around it, you know. Just
Yeah, it's interesting that you
I'm
can
not
tell
saying
straight
it's
away.
bad. I'm not against it. It is helping people a lot, but I'm just saying that there are limitations of it and people should know the limitations.
Yeah, and also use their own brain. I think what I've found really useful is so let's say you have the idea generation. So ChatGPT might spark an idea, and I think that's great.
Mm,
So
yeah.
I'm heavily dyslexic, so I'll write a script. I then put the script into ChatGPT and say fix this, and it does, and that's what it's helpful for. But I am doing the cognizant thinking. I'm not
Yeah.
making ChatGPT do it. I'm just adding.
No.
It's a tool.
Yeah, it's a tool, exactly. And if you just, for example, say that, okay, I'm doing a podcast on AI and then write a script for me, right?
Hmm.
And then the questions that it might give, you might not even like the script that you produce and the script that ChatGPT produce might be very different.
Hmm.
And I think the one that you produce is coming from a lot of your experience from how the podcaster run, all those things which ChatGPT doesn't have, you know. And sometimes when you start, for example, this is also a problem. So you start interacting with ChatGPT, you have opened a chat, and then you ask for a script, for example, and then it gives you a script. Then you give your ideas.
Hmm.
The way it will interpret your ideas would be different because it already has some context from the previous script that it generated.
Huh.
But if you could introduce a new chat, and in that new chat, then you first start with your ideas, the way the context will be developed will be different.
Isn't that interesting?
It's
So it's kind of molding it to your preference.
yes, exactly.
But then what happens if your preference is wrong and it's just going to keep molding it
Yeah,
to
so
the
it
wrong
keeps on
preference?
giving you wrong information. If, for example, you start a chat and you go into a wrong context or context that is not very interesting to you, it's very difficult to fix it back because it has already gone into that context and it just keep going deeper and deeper and deeper into it. Then it's better to just start anew.
So if every new chat that you start on ChatGPT, that's like a reset to the context that it has, right?
It's sort of if you have so it depends on what kind of settings you have put in your chat gpt. So we're going into the details of chat gpt now, but it's fine. So for example, in chat gpt there is a way that you can enter information which it can use as background every time you start chatting with it. So if you have a
Ah,
proper account, you've logged into it, you can put that use all this background information when I start chatting with you. So it can always look at that background information. But if you don't have that information and you start a new chat, you're basically it doesn't have any context and you're starting anew. But if you keep on, for example, somebody is already using a chat for a long time and then you keep on adding to that, then the old context will be built into it.
so what happens if the right? Okay, so how would you reset that? How would someone?
Start a new chat, you cannot reset. It's very difficult to reset. That's what I'm saying. So for example, your dating example, you start, so your friend must have dated with like some person, not your friend, some person took some dating advice from ChatGPT, and say it was not a very good or relevant advice. Then they use the same chat to take the advice next time.
Hmm.
But because there is already wrong context built into it, everything that will come through after it would still have that context of that information which was already built in. But then if you want to if you want to like forget, say that start anew, then you have to start a new chat for it.
Isn't that wild though that every single person that's using ChatGPT, I'm guessing there's millions and millions and millions of users, has an
Mm.
individual AI?
Yeah, I think it's brilliant. I no,
Yeah.
I love these assistants. And for example, you want to apply for a job, right? And and another person wants to apply for the same job. But the cover letter that you generate and the cover letter that other person generates might be completely different, just based on the information that you have given to that AI. So for example, if you say that I've did education here and work experience here, the cover that it will generate is very different from what it will generate for another person for the same job. So yes, it's your personal AI.
It's just kind of wild to me that well, what's wild to me is firstly that everyone has it and it's that long. The chain of it is just humongous. But then there's also the fact that people could essentially give it the wrong information and it just keeps that and it rolls
Easily,
with it.
very easily, yeah, very easily. I There is this question which I have in my mind, right? For example, you take any person, and then if any famous person, for example, and if a lot of people keep on saying bad things to ChatGPT about that person, and then a new person comes in and ask about that person, will only the bad information come about that person? No. So people can actually bias the
ChatGPT just
whole. Yeah,
is that not quite dangerous in terms of,
it
let's
is.
say,
It
like,
is. It's what I was saying about safeguarding and ethics
yeah.
and safe, because I just feel like there are so many loopholes in it, and
Mm.
nobody to fix it, nobody to look at it. Some things are being looked at after they become a big issue. But what about the small things that nobody is even noticing that is already happening?
But surely, because what I'm not sure if you've heard, but there's in Russia, for example, there's tons of bot farms that they essentially
Mm,
buy tons of bot farms, and then they'll try and influence things based on the bot farms. So if you
mm,
have tons of bots of ChatGPT all saying, let's say you would take Keir Starmer, for example. Keir Starmer sucks. He's bad at this, bad at that, blah, 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 blah. When you ask ChatGPT about Keir Starmer, it's going to give you that information. So you
yeah.
could actually influence an election based on what you're
Mm,
telling ChatGPT.
yeah. Completely. You can influence ChatGPT on a decision that a student is making in some other country on what university they want to join. So the
Oh my God.
ChatGPT could be biased. So for example, say always that when you people can if people keep on feeding this information, the best for AI is University of Cambridge. The best for AI is University of Cambridge. A lot of people feed in that information. If a person searches in some other country, which is the best for AI in UK, University of Cambridge might come through. So it's just very, yeah.
That's terrifying.
I don't know whether a lot of people know this or not.
Yeah.
Or people might, or they might already know and they must be using it for their own stuff. But yeah.
Yeah. Well, listen, Dr. Armin, I just want to say thank you so much for coming on and chatting and scaring the shit out of us.
What? I did the opposite. I did that. I told nothing to be scared of.
Not at all. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. And where can people find you? I know your research. You don't have any social media profiles, not that I know of.
So I'm on LinkedIn.
LinkedIn.
Uh, I am on LinkedIn, and my University of Surrey website is quite public as well,
Amazing.
with my email ID there. So yes.
Amazing. Amazing. Well, thank you so much. Honestly, it's been really eye-opening because I thought I was going to come on and you were going to be like, no, we're all going to die soon. But you settled me a bit.
Thank you so much for having me over. I had a really nice conversation. It's good to hear some stories from people, from other people that you've
Yeah.
chatted with. So it's very nice.